This killer asked Josh for a ride home, and in the video you can see Josh shaking his head, yeah. And then Josh went inside the building and turned around and held the door open for Mr. Morales to walk in. He said something to Josh, and Josh went, which we later found out he wasn't going to school. So Josh just closed the door, allowed the door to close, and walks out of the frame, headed to class. Last time I'll ever see my son walk, talk, anything about him. At trial, the killer testified on his behalf and gave exact testimony on how he systematically killed Joshua. He first, and this is from the killer on the witness stand, he first threw a punch in the face so that Joshua's vision was messed up and he could not fight back. He next kneed Joshua in an abdomen so that he would go to the ground. Josh went to the ground as his spleen was sliced in half. The killer was aggravated that it was not over yet. He was a black belt in mixed martial arts and thought he could do this without any blood. He was aggravated it was not over. He said he grew tired of watching bloody bubbles come from Joshua's nose as he was trying to breathe. Next, he took a closet rod and beat Josh over the head again and again until the rod broke in 4 pieces. Joshua was still breathing. Next, he strangled him. He let him go to see if it was over. No, it's not over. So he continued until there were no more bloody bubbles. He must have said it 6 times from the stand. As a mom, I realized that my kid was grasping for air. He waited and he watched him die. He tied Josh's body up, stuffed it in the back seat of our truck, bought gas, dumped Josh in a field and set his body on fire. The killer went home, took a shower, and went to see a movie, had popcorn and Coke. I didn't bring my kid across a border. If I would have told my daughter, I'm going to Mexico, and had a man, he'll bring you over here in a year or 2, I'd be charged with neglect as well as I should be. I did not put my kid in harm's way when he went to school that day. You did. Every one of you is elected by an American. It is time for you to stand in the gap for Americans. I'm so tired of being up here and going over the same thing. You're elected by Americans. Do something. It is your job. Every one of you are in a position to do something that we are not. If you've been in bed with somebody who's given you too much money and you think the wrong way, get out of the way and let someone get in here that can care about Americans and their families. This is not about love. I do not have any hate. 2 days after Christmas, after he killed Josh, I went and forgave this kid at the jail. Totally forgiven. He's off my mind. It is now. They asked me at the trial, what did I want to give him? And all I could say was, it's not my call to decide his life. It's not. They couldn't believe I said it. The jury, I said, it's the jury's call. I didn't want to be anything like him and hurt another person. It's time to do something. We did not put our kids in jeopardy. We did not decide to traipse them across the desert. There are no minors that came here by themselves. I know it and you know it. There are no minors unless they're 16-year-old guys or girls that come here. The minors can't come here by themselves. I've seen the border. People die every day trying to get here.
She was 21. She had just graduated from Bellevue University with a 4.0. She inspired to go on to get her master's in criminal investigations. However, that was cut short for her. The night of January 31st, 2016, as she was coming home, she was rear-ended by Eswin Mejia, who was 19 years old, here illegally, drunk driving, street racing. My daughter died instantly. However, she was an organ donor, so she was kept alive until February, I believe it was the 4th. The local law enforcement did their job. They detained him, went to ICE, tried to get a hold on him. ICE refused. I don't know why that was with everything that happened, but he is on the loose now. So our family does not have closure. Edwin was not a stranger to the law enforcement and failed to honor his legal obligation for minor traffic infractions prior to killing my daughter. Now a failed local judicial system that set his bond too low, coupled with the flawed Obama administration policies have rewarded the illegal and punished my family and hampered law enforcement in their investigations.
I
The
think
law
it
does.
wasn't just when Miss Root and Miss Wilkerson lost their children because of our poor immigration policies.
I agree that it was not just, it was violent and it was terrible, but we cannot scapegoat a whole community because of the actions of individuals.
But you know what? I keep hearing that, and the problem is that law-abiding immigrants do not need to come out of the shadows. If you come here legally to the United States, you don't need to be in the shadows. We have the best immigration system in the world. We welcome more immigrants than any country in the world, and frankly, because of you and people like you, we are not fixing this problem, and we're allowing this to happen, and I think it's shameful, and I think if you really care about your community, you're going to help us fix this immigration system, not try to use excuses and call people who are trying to do this racist and scapegoating.
What is your church doing to discourage people from coming to the United States illegally and staying in the United States illegally?
Well, first of all, we are working to welcome everyone.
Well, that
We
is
are
very
working-
concerning to me. So you're essentially aiding and abetting people who are violating the laws of our country.
We do not ask people their immigration status when we
Why
find them
not?
hungry, because that's not our
You
work.
could help them in Central America. You could help them in whatever country they're from just as easily as you can help them here. But your philosophy goes beyond that, doesn't it? You think that they should be welcomed in the United States regardless of their status.
Immigrants want to stay home. They're not able to stay home because we've undermined their economies. We have raped their
The population
lands.
of the United States is about 5% of the world population. 95% of the people in the world do not live in the United States and do not have a legal right to be in the United States. Are you suggesting that because the United States is one of the more successful economies in the world that we should welcome all of those people to the United States because they can't take care of themselves at home?
I
as you put
would
it?
restate that most immigrants want to stay home, but they can't feed their families. We're talking about Central Americans. Central Americans have come here because we've been involved in their economies in disastrous ways. We've been involved in their politics in ways that have undermined their countries and left their societies in shambles and in poverty.
so we should
You ask
bring
me if
them
our
here.
church is doing anything. We are indeed working very hard in Honduras particularly to set up job training, to provide counsel for
While
those
you're there,
immigrants.
are you telling people don't make the dangerous, arduous journey to the United States because it's the wrong thing to do and you could harm yourself or your children?
We tell them how cruel the road is and how cruel immigration policies in the United States are as well.
Good, thank you.
As I understand it, over a recent 3-year period, the administration has released back into our communities over 100,000 criminal aliens. These are individuals who have been arrested and incarcerated for crimes. These individuals subsequently committed thousands of other crimes. Many individuals were murdered, many individuals were injured, other individuals lost their property. And in fact, when you look at the statistics, just looking at murders, for example, illegal immigrants comprise about 3% of our population, but commit roughly 30% of the murders. So an illegal immigrant in our country is about 10 times more likely to commit that serious crime than other individuals who reside in the United States. And quite frankly, all this makes me wonder if President Obama might be an accessory to the crimes committed by illegal immigrants, since he intentionally implemented policies that he knows are going to result in the murder and loss of life and injury to innocent Americans. And I would simply say—
Mr. Chairman, a parliamentary inquiry. It is against the committee rules to
I specifically chose—
charge the president with a crime.
Okay, I specifically chose my language the way I did, and it was a rhetorical question. I said, I wonder, and I said, if he might. So I picked those words carefully.